Hello everyone, in this recording I'm going to be speaking about this upcoming new moon taking place on the 1st of November in the sign of Scorpio, of course 2024. Now I must say that this recording is gonna be pretty complex and pretty deep, so that means pretty long probably. So if you have patience, please stay with me because there's gonna be power here. But of course, if you do not, then better skip this one because it's not gonna be your typical horoscope. So before I get into the aspects and the astrological technicality, let's look at the big picture because there is so much we need to understand of where things are going. Because you, of course, guessed it already. It's not just about this new moon. Actually, the new moon itself is not really the star of the show. However, it's the key, it's the catalyst, it's the way to get there. So that makes it important. Everything else is really in the spotlight, astrologically, in any way, shape, and form. So the big picture starts not really with astrology, but rather than the date. The first, November the 1st, or let's say the day before, right? 31st of October is a very special day, a very special celebration in very many parts of the world, where, as you know, we celebrate, no, depending on your culture, like Samhain, Halloween, or in other parts of the world, the Day of the Dead, especially in more Christian cultures. In Latin America, Dias, I'm not, oh, I have a lapsus, de Muertes or something like that. That is beautiful. Their symbolism and their soul felt devotion to those souls who they shared a timeline reality life with, even after they're not on this side, the remembrance and feeding them, sending them gifts onto the beyond. That is so beautiful that truly it elevates that culture to the highest heavens. Not just in my subjective eyes, but you can imagine that the divine kind of sees it the same way. Anyway, why does this matter? There's power here. This is a big focal point. The astrological energies, it's Scorpio season, right? So that's it. That's all I have to say. It's Scorpio season. The sign of transformation, decay, death, alchemy, the occult, everything that is in the shadows, in the deep, etc., etc., etc. And of course, according to the ancients, this was one of the scary signs, along with Virgo, Pisces, right? But Scorpio had a very special place always. Or let's look at it from a modern esoteric perspective. The serpent, the lower expression, but the serpent, the venom, and the way it lives, the modus operandi, and the serpent symbolism in any way, shape, and form. And then the higher expression, the eagle who can kill the serpent, eagle freedom rising above, the next step of evolution, because ultimately, if we want to look at it in a Darwinistic way, reptile and birds, have the common ancestors, or they have very strong genetic similarities, but their manifestation is almost like heaven and earth. Literally, one is bound to the earth, other one is really bound to the sky. So this immediately says that heaven and earth are meeting, and boy, will they meet. So Day of the Dead, very powerful, very mystical. It's all about the soul. It's all about beyond the veil. It's all about remembrance. So the past becomes the present and the future, right? So this is how we start the day. This is the foundation of what the stars will build upon. Now, let's add a little fact, as in what's happening in the present moment. And I'm so sorry to word it like this, but I cannot, in the spirit of Scorpio, right? I cannot word it in a beautiful way. The piles of dead, mountains of dead, literally, regardless from which conflict, are mounting, building, rising. But that also means that, well, actually, I don't monetize. So I'm very comfortable for my channel to be deleted tomorrow. Let's just say certain things. So I am 100% sure that everyone who can gaze beyond the veil, not just me, but all of my colleagues out there, and I'm actually speaking to people who listen to my videos, who are my colleagues in mysticism, uh, you know that there's blockage. You know that the death cannot pass. You know that some souls don't even realize that they're died and they are reliving eternally their last terror, last fright, last injustice. Now you can imagine that this amplifies the energy 100-fold. So it's trouble beyond the veil. The dead cannot, how should I say? It's like a flow, right? The hole is limited, right? It can only get that wide. But when what has to go through mounts up, that's not pretty. And energetically speaking, this is like and excuse my sci-fi wording, like a soulnado, a tornado of souls, filled with anger and injustice. And why did this happen to me? Pluto in the sign of Capricorn for the last weeks, days. Pluto, Lord of the Dead, right? Hades. And Hades has a lot of complexity. Look at his legends. Persephone, Hecate, all his helpers, all his good relations with everyone. So he is definitely not the bad guy, rather the administrator of the underworld. And, he's an administrator. He is trying his hardest. But when there's blockages and, how should I say, one of the main aspects is Pluto, by the degree, perfectly, opposing Mars. Pluto is Mars' higher octave. They both rule the sign of Scorpio, where the new moon takes place. Both are an energetic degree elimination. Both are related to the past in their own way. Because 29 degree of Capricorn is something that is at the backbone of all, which means it has a history, right? Mars, energetic degree of Cancer, it's literally the past. Family, ancestors, what happened yesterday, 20 years ago, 200 years ago, 2000 years ago. There's this. This Mars is trined, by Neptune and Pisces. Now, that's the past, not just in a historical way, what we can remember or not remember what happened. That's the collective unconscious, the Akasha, right? That type of memory, the past. And it's a trine, which means I'm so sorry again for my words. When, let's say, there is this very hardworking person and they had a very busy year, they gave all to the work or whatever, but the moment comes when they have to break down a little bit and they catch a bug where it's not only flu, but it's diarrhea, vomit, I'm sorry at the same time. So it's bad. Okay, it lasts a week and it feels like dying, but that's exactly this energy. Not necessarily in our own personal lives, because this is new moon, so it's creational. Let's not forget that. But outside this new moon, we see the excrement literally devouring everything, and not just energetically, but in philosophy. When the excrement reaches philosophy, that's when it's really as bad as it gets. Because philosophy, Sagittarius, is the highest thinking, right? If the excrement is higher thinking already, then this energy kicks in, and it, of course, it waits until Samain, or the Day of the Dead, or whatever you call it. And why is it so bad? Well, let me give you an example. You know, in the United States, every day there are these press conferences where Matthew Miller or someone else says the fairy tales in a big philosophical way, where they justify it with the legal terms and the law. And the law is Sagittarius. The law is philosophy manifested. We want to make it real. Now, if the evil sources from the law and it's hypocritical, and we are aggressively denying common sense with higher thinking, well, you know, that means that everything that is the other side of the whale gets angry, because anger is an emotion. And despite the terms that, not the terms, better said, but more like the accepted truth that has more ground in philosophy and mysticism and spirituality at the moment, is that actually thinking, higher thinking, is the ultimate power. Knowledge, right? Not really, because it is emotion. Why? Well, emotion can corrupt angelic beings who are perfect. Nothing else can, other than emotion. Lilith with Samuel, right? Lilith, she did it very easily, and she corrupted one of the highest ranking guys, right? That guy, symbolically speaking, which was perfect, incorruptible by nature. Emotion did it, not thought, not emotion, right? Okay, so if emotion has at least the same level of strength and superiority than higher thought or whatever, insert here quantum, etc., etc., well, that means it's ultra powerful at this moment. But the power, Mars in Cancer and Erratic, is really, like, really, 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 really in our hands. In the heart, right? Why the heart? Well, Cancer, the nurture of the breast. But when a planet is at an erratic degree, it also is one toe in the other sign, the next sign, Leo, heart. So, and Leo will matter in a few moments very much, very, like, super much. So the heart and the purest emotion in the heart is going to be triumphant. And you will say now that, but Mars is made powerless by Pluto. It faces, you know, but Mars, the greatest warrior, but sometimes even the greatest warrior looks demise in the eye, and that is part of every warrior journey. a part which is very sacred and must be accepted with great honor, dignity, etc., etc. That's the moment. So Mars, I hope for us, individuals and little people, will choose that dignity to whatever is ending in our lives, right? Pluto, Energetic Capricorn, not to matter in a disabling sense, but to actually give us strength. As in, yeah, that's okay. I still have my kick in me. You know, my life just collapsed. No problem, because I'm still standing and I'm bad at when I have to survive, I'm bad. I'm powerful. I'm the crab, the coconut crab. There. I don't, which doesn't really have any natural enemies. It's that scary and big and also really docile. Like it's not that aggressive if it's not attacked, but it's ultra strong. So this is the highest expression of this opposition. When whatever makes us totally powerless, surprise, surprise, we reverse it. Why? Because in thought, this is absurd and laughable, like foolishness, right? But in emotion and spirit, well, this is the miracle, right? That's why a miracle is a miracle, because it did that which shouldn't be possible. So this is a big portal and gateway for miracles, and the power really is in our hands. Whatever makes us powerless, really, that is the greatest power that we possess right now. Wherever this is in your life, in your situation, in your story, is this something in matter, right? Because Capricorn is material. Is this something family, house, Cancer? Is it something spiritual, inner psychological? Is it about the past, trauma, healing, self-worth? Something is there, and something is saying bye-bye to you in your life. Even if it's just an energy, even if it's just an old personality of yours, your old story where I always used to be the victim. Okay, bye. Right now, you're not a victim, but a survivor, and you're loving it, like it or not, but you're loving. You must love it. Bye bye, victim. There it is. Pluto took the victim down forever. Because ultimately, when someone wants to be a victim, they will become a victim. That is guaranteed. So maybe the inner victim changed their attitude to the inner survival, where, we can see this in the animal kingdom. There is a chance when the wounded animal just lays down and accepts. But there is another chance when the wounded animal, even especially if it's a usual prey like herbivore, you know what I mean, actually shows its other side. It goes against its own spirit side, the reversed spirit side. And when that happens, usually the predator is guaranteed not to make it. Because it's not going to be self-defense, it's going to be vengeance. You know what I mean? Vengeance is vengeance, and vengeance exists in nature. Let me give you certain examples of the most vengeful animals that are purely bound, choosing it and loving it, even if it means their demise, and that goes against survival instinct to run and conserve yourself, right? Vengeance. And I'm not even talking about highly colonial animals, just slightly, some of them. Well, one of it is the rat. uh, I don't even have to explain this. Try it out for yourself. Hurt a rat, it will remember you, and whenever it sees you, it will jump to attack, jump to your throat. Wasp. Wasp is so vengeful that I don't even have to just go and deal with the wasp. That's it. Um, Panther. And there are many other animals. Panther is not just vengeful, but cruel and loves it. It loves to make the victim have fearful last moments. So it makes the terror maximum. And the list can continue. So nature is not holy. It has its sacredness, yes, but it's not holy. It contains the demonic forces as it should, right? So why am I mentioning this? Because you can imagine this is part of the picture very, very strongly. So on top of all of this, that there is a lot of rage beyond the veil, and that the dead on this particular Day of the Dead are not gonna be smiling. And this all with Mars in Cancer, right? Neptune in Pisces, Mercury at almost an erratic degree of Scorpio. So you guessed it. Yes, a water trine, a grand water trine, a grand water trine. Yes. uh, the dead, well, they are gonna empower their living relatives, no matter. But this is the, perhaps synchronistically speaking, the moment when the living, due to the date, the 1st of November or 31st of October, by autopilot, even in the most innocent way, children trick or treat, are gonna be invoking the power of their ancestors in any way, shape, and form. Some are gonna go to the cemetery with candles and offerings. Others are gonna go to church or their holy places to bring songs and stuff like that. Everyone is gonna have some kind of like mystics or anyone that is non-religiously spiritual. I don't need to say it. This is also the celebration of Hecate's sacred rites and flames and Hecate. And Hecate is, how should I say, in good relations with anything, because she is a soul midwife. Hecate is a force that doesn't have to choose any sides. She just helps. So any side respects her. She is like a Red Crescent worker, not in the present days, but just in the theory, who walks on battlefields and everyone, regardless of the sides, leaves her alone. So yes, this is definitely on. She's gonna be massively evoked by all her sorcerers out there. And I'm speaking about the present. This isn't past, this is present. They do it every single 31st of October. But then add the Wiccan community, then add the Catholic mystics, add everyone. So this is where the whale and from both sides are gonna meet, not just willingly, but coincidentally, because it is what it is. That's the situation. That's a powerhouse. And emotion, grand water trine, is the creational force here with a new moon in Scorpio. Now, even before I get to the technicality and the aspects, the Sabian symbol, because that adds cherries on top. The Sabian symbol goes like this: a fellowship supper. Now, I don't need to explain this, I think. Fellowship supper. So, fellowship. People sharing either same pain, same goal, same something, and that fellowship makes them put aside all their differences. Fellowships usually kind of conquer everything. Roman army, Napoleon's army. Why was it strong? because of the fellowship, not because of anything else. Spirit aggressively protects fellowship. Why? Because that spirit, anything that has to do with friendship, connection, anything that is between two beings. I don't even want to, it's not even restricted to the human. Anything that has to do with two beings connecting in any way, shape, and form, of whatever reason, that feeds spirit. Let's just say it like that. So spirit has every interest to protect its own food. Black Moon, Lilith, and Libra. All certain minor planets in Leo. This is where fellowships are catalyzed, and they gain a lot of power. And the current situation all over the world, regardless if it's because of some kind of conflict or because like a situation, financial situation, economic situation, health situation, anything, cultural situation, births fellowships out of need. People simply need each other to survive. It doesn't matter if that is like really for food or for protection, like brothers in arms, freedom fighters, right? Regardless if it's protesters who demand their will to be executed by the government, regardless if it's people who are lonely and find each other and say, well, I rather accept you with all your flaws or whatever and not be lonely. Let's just be fellows. That's it. That's what fellowship is. When out of desperation, okay, many times elation and the good stuff, but other times desperation, you really put aside your differences and just embrace the fellowship because it's your means of survival, psychologically, spiritually, physically, socially, morally, culturally, it doesn't matter, but it's a means of survival. And that's empowered. And the new moon is on there. That's the theme of the new moon. That's the spiritual theme of the new moon. So it will birth fellowships and empower fellowships. And this energy, what do the fellowships want? Pluto says that the truth. And after it goes, this Pluto is going back into Aquarius. Justice, liberty, equality, freedom, humanity, humanitarianism, equality. Aquarius rules politics, right? Politics to reflect what's in people's hearts truly, which means that this energy goes aggressively against diplomacy, which is hypocritical. So yeah, I don't. You know what I mean. We should really not waste time on explaining what is going on the world stage. So there's that. Now let us get into the aspects a little bit because it's so very interesting. Mercury, and I'm gonna just whisk through the aspects because then we have to look at the bigger picture. Mercury opposing Uranus. Again, truth being dished out. Something is spilled out and it causes great emotion. Mercury is part of the Grand Water Trine. As I said, this unites cultures, nations, people, communities, power in unity. If you share the same past, same wounds, same situation, this unites people in spirit. And I don't even need to say the other because spirit is the primary component to the anything. When spirit says I'm uniting, then it will unite in any way, shape, and form. Jupiter sextiles perfectly to the degree. Chiron, Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. it, you know, if I if I had to translate this energy, what this says is everything that we promised about regardless if we promised it to ourselves or if it's like a collective promise. I'm gonna let food into the depraved zone, or what we promised in the sense of healing. Let's make those promises happen now. Let's do it. Let's be truthful to our own word or promise. So there's that. Jupiter is not alone. Jupiter is conjunct White Moon Selena, the highest expression of the soul, the purest emotion and its power in the mind, in words, in truth. This is where reality is what you feel, and what you feel you give words to. You override collective reality with your own faith reality, but of course in a harmonious healing way, right? There's that. Now, of course, before I go any further, let's be very clear. The queen of all or the king or the biggest aspect here is truly Mars opposing Pluto. Let's not forget that. But again, Mars sextiling Mars being trined by Neptune, Pluto sextiling Neptune. This is a mystic triangle, if I'm not mistaken. We need to choose the powerlessness to give us the strength of the phoenix. There you go. The strength of that eagle, right? The higher octave of Scorpio, the power of transformation, the power of mutation, the power of I'm gonna survive this. The power of the lizard gives up its tail, but the rest of its body survives and grows it back. I'm not sure how they call it, autotomy or something like that, when the spider willingly lets go of its leg and grows it back. So there is a lot of manifestation power happening, but the unconscious is manifesting mostly. This is a very powerful and purgatory, but this is not going to be the typical purgatory, because this is where we need to immediately do something with it, as in the sense that our souls may be in a bit of pain because Pluto is doing his job in regardless, but that doesn't stop us. We are not laying down a bit and standing up when we feel better. No. We are fighting with it. That gives us strength. The wound gives us strength. And this new moon is sort of trine Saturn in Pisces. How should I even word this to make it? Let's change even the past. Because this is like vitriol. This is like the strongest acid, which dissolves even the past. This is where, let's say, something massive happened in the past, and everyone remembers it, and it's the core of. There comes this aspect and pours vitriol on it. Okay, even a memory has time, Saturn, the end is here. The end is here. End of a prophecy, end of the end of loving something, the end of making something. No, this is where we need to birth anew, right, Aquarius? So that means let's pour the vitriol on the past that is the chain. And this is literal. So, and let's not forget that the very first substance in the physical universe was acid, an acid, helium hydride or something like that, the most potent acid that could exist, but it could only exist in the early stages of the universe, so outside of that, it cannot exist normally. But imagine if for a brief moment, the universe would return to that acid state, purifying itself. This in spirit, not in anything else, just in spirit. But that, you know why that is very important? Because after comes a breath of fresh air. After comes great benevolence, great love and compassion, Pisces. So much love that it can do the opposite of destruction. It can create almost chaotically, almost like when, you know, the dandelion seeds, that it flies everywhere and it just fixes everything. But first we need to let it purge out. So we must allow the old fanatic beliefs or hurts or principles or religious dogmatism or whatever dogmatism to be purged out from us, and for us to be totally free, even from the self, even from the desires and the Saturn of the self, you know, the old Saturn of the self, so that a new Saturn in 2025, when Neptune and Saturn together dip into Aries, the first breath, the new dream, the new you, right? The new us, that will take its place. But this belief system we have to let go. We have to basically purge out. So this is when, I'm so sorry, even ancient wisdom has only so much value now. It is not supreme value anymore. We are simply forgetting it, because that is Pisces, the collective forgetting. It's not important anymore. Why? Why should we know anything when we feel the source? It was gifted to us now, in this present second moment. We are able, free willingly, to feel the source. That's it. That's all we need. Do we really need anything? No. We don't need the old teachings now, because the teaching is us. We are living it. The teaching sprung life within us. It doesn't need to remember itself. It just needs to live freely. We are embodying it already. So this isn't sci-fi, really, even if it sounds, we're embodying the new spirit already. But along with the old can become a beautiful decoration and a jewelry on the new. Or it can become so we have to flush it down. This new moon gives us that chance. And collectively, we get what that means. We know the conflict and the BS and all of that and the tyranny and okay, we get that. But in our personal lives, that doesn't matter in our personal lives. Our own relationship with the world, not the old world, the new world that is being born is starting. And that means that a new self, new Saturn, that is why it's dancing with Neptune, with the vitriol. Because Neptune is vitriol to anything and everything. Saturn is almost like, forgive my expression, suiciding. Like oh my goodness, the Terminator, when he went willingly into the molten whatever. Saturn needs to do that, Aries, right? Why? Because he wants new boundaries. He has a new sense now. Let's be honest with each other. Time travel technology is real and hidden, and they're using it. And this is not conspiracy. This is common sense. Just, you don't need to know anything. Even a shepherd who doesn't even know how to read can tell this. That, you know, so it would be ridiculous for Saturn to stay his old same self, because that self is a lie that cannot be hidden anymore, because if time changes, then Saturn also has to change to something new that is much more supportive. And yeah, but there is so much else going on. Venus in Sagittarius. So a Venus who just got freed from the realm of Scorpio. New dreams, aspiration, values, right? The new values, they spring up as a volcano because she opposes Jupiter. The two benefics oppose each other. This is when the new comes in an extreme way where we don't even, how should I say? We don't even want to get all that excited because it looks a bit scary. You know, when you, the first day at school, okay, it's fun, but I don't think before you step into the energy of the school and all meet your colleagues, and I don't think that's all that fun. The preparation for this energy. The new is coming, but Venus value-wise, the international is different. And this will show. But of course, Mercury is trying to touch Sagittarius. So that also means that there might be restrictions in air travel and the skies might not be safe. In some places in the world, that's literal, but that's not really what I mean, because that's obvious. So another energy, and this is where let's show the guests. Pallas Athena is conjunct Venus, their big value change. This is when new financial, I don't know if it's system or regulation, because Sagittarius is the law, but Sagittarius can also be the blueprint of the system, because ruled by Jupiter is responsible with the blueprint, you know, the designer, the architect, and Saturn is the concrete block. So Saturn can work with what Jupiter has only. If Jupiter makes a poor plan, of course, Saturn will demolish and Saturn will be the bad guy. But if Jupiter makes a safe and sound design, then Saturn will not comment. Anyway, so Pallas Athena opposing Jupiter. Value is being born anew, but through our reactivity. And let me just give you examples rather. The big designer brands, they're falling because in moments of great crisis, people psychologically, their soul, and this was always the same, always feel a repulsion against high value. They want to vomit it out symbolically, as in energy. In moments of great pain and suffering collectively, value is distorted. Value is the opposite of what it usually is in times of prosperity and peace. So this is when that which is extremely pure, extremely simple, extremely rudimentary, basic, gains big value in a sense that that's the only thing you want. So this changes things around, and this is what this aspect will reflect. Juno, not only it is conjunct Haumea, dwarf planet trans-Neptunian object Haumea in the sign of Scorpio, and that's mutation. That is where everything is mutating, but it is squared by Pluto, because Juno is at 29 degree of Libra. Juno is planet asteroid of partnerships, Jupiter's wife. In relationships, there is definitely massive change. It doesn't need to mean the end, but it will mean the end of a state. By all means, please let it be a state of disharmony, mistrust, let that end. But it's complicated. And this is where Pluto going direct for the last time in our lifetimes in Capricorn. If there's something left to deal karmically with an ex, well, this is the final window of opening. It doesn't need to be next week. It doesn't need to be 1st of November. It can even take 6 months or a year, but it starts. The energy starts, and you will feel it. You will know it if that's the case. But at the same time, this energy can play out radically differently, where it might end our own inner BS, which blocks our partnerships. Because we are approaching times when we need partnerships to survive. It's not optional. For dear life, we need it. And please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying in a doom and gloomy way, as in catastrophe no. Psychologically, the heart will need it if you want to burn. If not, if you can just exist in the mind, in virtual reality, no problem. You'll be absorbed by it, you know that. But if not, you will need something in your life, a friend or anything alternative, romance or not, or whatever relationship, but it's something needs to be there. As low or high or as real or philosophical, doesn't matter. Something is needed. So Juno will highlight this, that if we are the self's worst enemy in partnerships, then this is when let's prepare for the massive slap life will give us. But that slap will be the saving grace. So yes. Now we had the cherries, now let's add the sprinkles. The new moon to the degree, so it's a very strong and perfect square, Varuna, trans-Neptunian object, cosmic law, justice, harmony, but justice and heart, Leo. So transformation, mutation, we get the symbolism of the new release and detox in any way, shape, and we get that. But Varuna says, make sure that whatever you create, whatever you transform, whatever you mutate, however you allow the situation to transform you into someone else, right? Make sure that that is aligned with your highest truth and your supreme values. If that is the case, then it cannot go wrong. If that's not the case, it is guaranteed to go wrong. Rather don't. Rather, I don't know, cower away, squaring, this is square. Than to, how should I say? Do some irreversible change to yourself that you don't really like in your deepest spirit, rather than that, just cover away. However, if you know your truth, you feel your truth in your hearts of hearts, allow this to transform you into whatever you need to be, even with the risk of Varuna is conjunct and with an asteroid at 8 degrees of Leo, roughly, Pandora, right? And asteroid Pandora, whenever I work with her, whenever I see her involved in something, like to the degree, it kind of raises my hair in the back, because it gives me goosebumps, because Pandora is scary. If I'm not mistaken, when certain big assassinations happened, regardless in which part of the world. Pandora was, if I'm not mistaken, either on Uranus or part of a lunation. I'm so sorry, I can't really remember, but Pandora really made things, really opened the closet with the skeletons in it. You know what I mean? So Pandora is definitely going to open her box. But besides the scary stuff, and this is why I like this actually. Pandora, the contacts of Pandora's box are so visible happening out there already. But Pandora also has hope, the light of hope, pure hope in her box, right? So that's good. That's good. Because if something cannot fail us in life or on life or in any state of existence, that's hope. And if anything is our greatest power, that is also hope, because not every being is able to exist in, or how should I say, be aligned with the sphere of hope. For example, a lot of the angelic caste, since they are simply an extension of the mind and will of the creator, they do not, how should I say, know, or hope is something totally alien to them. They have no power over it. And you might say, well, the angels helped me so many times, and there is angel of hope. But an angel is, that hope doesn't come from the angel. The angel is the messenger, the drone that delivers you the pizza from the boss, right? The angel is the drone that connects you to the sphere of hope. Oh, if an angelic spirit helped you, well, that's something totally else, totally different. That doesn't, chances are it will not respond to the names you think it has. So even in mysticism, the truth is coming out enough with the, oh, this is gonna be bad for me. This probably will end my channel, the Kabbalistic bullshit. Enough of that. Lies. Truth, big truth, and the core design of, yes, but from an aggressive perspective. The perspective is the black sheep there, not the anything else. The perspective which distorts, which doesn't favor the human spirit, but enslaves it. No, 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 no. But this new moon is perfect for that. And last but not least, and this is where it is, this is my favorite. This is where, oh, I really want to live it. Also at 8 degrees of Leo, there is a centaur, an asteroid, of course, a centaur. And I'll try to pronounce his name, but I don't know if I'll get it right. Silarus, or now this centaur is not like Chiron and co, neither like Ixion and co. Ixion is not a centaur per se, but the father of them. He was infinitely handsome. He had golden mane and golden beard, and he was very, very handsome. And he was a very, very, very brave warrior, and he was very noble. So he was a very good centaur, neither the mystical type with the great knowledge and whatever, but neither the savage beast, right? He just was himself. And he had a beautiful centaur wife, and they loved each other dearly. So he was slain in a war, and his wife was so heartbroken that after, I don't know, she said the farewell funeral rituals, she had to impale herself as well because she couldn't live without him. Courage, love, passion, what divine emotions. And in times of great pain, conflict, and war, these energies are those which truly bring forth miracles. Because this centaur story is also something symbolic in our lives. Maybe not a relationship, but maybe a different relationship, as in with a idea, with something specific of us, with something we got from our parents, with something. So these energies and these archetypes are also so very much us. And you know, all of these centaurs and trans-Neptunian objects and planetoids and all the other things that are out there, well, as in, I'm just referring to our solar system, not the fixed stars and the great infinity, because that really makes things that much more but all of these more minor uh archetypes, these are within us, but not in a classical Freudian, neither Jungian way. These are within our deepest emotions and dreams. They're not accessible in any other way. A telescope can barely see these objects. The highest resonance telescope. So it means they are supposed to be a mystery and only accessible with great effort and strength. Spiritual elation. For us to embody a spirit and use it and allow the self to melt into God and thus become a component of something. That's the key. That's the key to the future. That's not philosophy anymore. That's not child's story anymore. That's not the mystic's daydream anymore. That is the necessity for us to survive. So we must put down the books and start living. But life is different than theory. Every divine being that ever entered our plane started off as a human being. So, yeah. So all I can say in conclusion, well, listen, Day of the Dead or Samain, the Scorpio new moon, the Grand Water Trine, the still functioning Grand Sextile. I'm speaking about Pluto, Neptune, Uranus conversing together. This is the moment. If you believe in your magic, if you believe in your divine spark in a non-egoistic way, and in this is where you need to dissolve in God, right? So your color and your specific details to your story are not going to be important. Use it. Use the deepest magic of your soul, that which comes so much deeper than your sense of identity and your hurts and fears, and unleash yourself if you want to change the world, because this is the truest portal to miracles. Because the sky energetically and the world, sadly physically, has to be on fire for our hearts to be on fire to invoke the justice of the cosmos, Varuna, right? Aided by Pandora, aided by the handsome centaur. We need to step up, to fight, to embody that spirit which we find deep within ourselves at this moment, deep within what makes our heart burn with holy passion, not fanatic, zealous, etc., etc. Let's be more like Vesta, right? And Vesta is at 2 degrees of Libra. So Vesta is in the domain of perfect love, because that's Libra. Perfect in thought, but perfection can only exist in thought and philosophy. But it's okay. That's where we need it. Vesta has to burn. Vesta guards Libra from the entrance. Juno guards it from the exit. So this is in Black Moon Lilith nests in Libra along with planetoid Makemake. She is regenerating our natural sense of justice. This is why Lilith it has to trigger us. She is regenerating our sacred anger, the anger of the people, the anger of the horde. And that ultimately changes the world like it has always done so. So we must make sure to choose to transform into our most, passionately sacred and minimalistic self. That for us to become the eagle. The eagle who has the serpent in its claws, alive and well, and can drop the serpent onto the enemies, right? The serpent is, in this case, the call out for true divine justice in any case, shape, and form. This is where you are the sole judge of what divine justice should be. Nothing can tell you, no one and no opinion. Listen just to the depth of your heart. And that is what you love, and that is what justice is to you, and that is your petition to the sky. So I am not even saying to choose a side. No, just listen to whatever lies there. That's your truth, regardless of what you find there. Regardless, truly regardless. What you love is what you love. And of course, some souls out there will find out in this way that they are madly in love with the old world and they will stay with the ship. But I'm very sure that those souls probably do not enjoy spiritual guidance. So it's no one who probably listens to astrology. So none of you guys. So with this being said, thank you everyone for listening. And again, use your power now. This is the moment. And that power is just what you believe, the deepest core of your faith. Free, but the freest form, the most pure free form of what is in you, free of all dogma, all methodology, just your pure power. So thank you everyone. Until next time, bye for now. And a very, very happy Samhain / Day of the Dead for everyone.